Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the benefit of the AEW review for the 12th of August, 2020. Overall, wasn't a bad show, but a little bit less than has been normal as of late. I found, to be honest, I found NXT to be the better show. That review will be up momentarily as well. But I found it to be the better show of the two this week. It should be interesting to see your feelings. Please comment below if you like. Also, like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff. And certainly looking forward to your ideas about that. We open with the Bucks against Evil Uno and Stu Grayson of the Dark Order. And so, I mean, some people thought this was a really good opener. I'm not a fan of either team, so maybe that clouds my judgment. But there's nothing here I haven't seen before. Uno and Grayson and Alex Reynolds and John Silver and Alan Angels all out on the way to the ring. Uno and Grayson were the beginning of the Dark Order stable, and I don't understand why at the time. I don't. If I never saw these two guys again, I wouldn't care. Brody Lee I like in the Dark Order. Alan Angels has come really far. There are other people in the Dark Order that I see money in a environment where money can be made in the wrestling business. I do not see money in Evil Uno or Stu Grayson. I don't get why they are so well regarded. Anyway, so the Dark Order goes to work on Nick early, and then we see Matt hit a swanton to the floor. Useless, high-risk maneuver. It's a throwaway match that no one will know about in 2 weeks, and so they're taking risks for maybe a highlight reel. Matt gets cut off early after a German suplex, and Nick makes his comeback. He does the facebuster moonsault off the apron. Nick is cut off, and the Dark Order goes for the fatality. Nick avoided it and uses a sunset flip on Uno for a quick pin. Again, I guess athletically this is fine, but I'm to the point when I see, and I got to this point with the Hardys too 20 years ago. When I see the matches, okay, high spot, high spot, high spot. But did you make me care about you as a character? Did you make me want to see you next week? Do I care where your story is going? And with the Bucks and the Grayson and Uno foursome, I don't care where any of them go next week. Anyway, MJF is shown with crew backstage. He's making his way to the ring. The announcers talk about the rest of the card. They talk about what teams everybody likes because it's Tag Team Appreciation Night. Kenny Omega says the Young Bucks are his favorite team. I don't know if this is supposed to be satire. Paige says that his favorite team is himself and Omega, which makes sense. MJF cuts a promo in the ring. He says we deserve a better champion than Jon Moxley. I would say we deserve a homegrown champion. Would make sense. Anyway, calls Moxley an idiot. Says he wasn't there tonight. And I guess, Moxley he makes his way out. MJF sends Wardlow and Moxley off to the Wardlow and others off to block the entrance. Moxley enters through the tunnel instead of through the crowd like he normally does. He lays out MJF with the paradigm shift. Moxley cuts a promo and says that They are not even, and he promises more punishment at the pay-per-view. Not a fan of this segment, and it's not just because I think MJF is one of the best things they have. If I've just seen the heel get laid out a few weeks before the pay-per-view, why should I believe that the heel, who is much smaller, has a fighting chance in the main event of this pay-per-view? If anything, MJF should have outsmarted Moxley, and then he gets the upper hand again after the belt shot last week. So now he's got the upper hand twice in a row on the guy. If you want Moxley to even the score the week before the pay-per-view on the go-home show, you can do that. But there should have been more heat built on MJF here. Alex Marvez interviews Matt Hardy. I guess Matt has concussions that enable him or disable him from being able to control which persona is out. So they replay the Sammy Guevara chair bit from last week. Hardy says that he's alive and he won't die. I don't know. I will not die is just a really... I've never liked it as a catchphrase. I don't want to hear about death in my wrestling. It's just a personal thing, and maybe I'm being too sensitive about that. It's just I don't like certain things in wrestling, and talk of death and killing and all that is one of them. Hardy says he's not waiting until next Saturday. He's going to get Sammy tonight. Mike Posey walks in and Hardy attacks him, thinking it's Guevara. This is just silly. Mike Shikoda makes his AEW debut as a referee for the TNT Championship match, which is really good, just as good as I thought it would be. Cody's out with Dustin, Brandy, Ali, QT Marshall, and Arn Anderson. Why the heck does he need a full-on paparazzi entourage? And Scorpio Sky's out by himself. There's several moments where Cody's showing heel tendencies. Justin Roberts introduces him as the Prince of Pro Wrestling. Sky looks really good here. I actually would have pulled, if it were me with the book, I would have pulled the trigger on taking the belt off Cody. I really hope that this isn't leading to Cody losing to Brody Lee in the next Dynamite, because I think that's a step backwards. I think at this point, when Cody drops the championship, it needs to be to a homegrown AEW talent, not someone who's been on WWE TV. Anyway, so both guys go over the top rope to the floor. Cody sells his ribs. Cody's actually been selling the ribs for several weeks, which, from a linear storytelling perspective, I really like. Cody has the advantage, at least for a good half of the match. He hits a power slam. Cody watches Sky and then hits him with a bow and arrow. Sky comes back with a cutter on the stage, and he kicks out of one Crossroads. Cannot handle kicking out of a second one. Cody blocks a springboard cutter, and after the second, Crossroads gets the win. Really good match. Again, I would have pulled the trigger on Cody losing the championship at this point, even if you give it back to him in a month, and call him the first two-time champion. I think now's the time to strike while the iron is hot. Brody Lee appears on screen. He says that Rhodes is going to pay, basically says that the Elite has been broken up. But with Cody having his own stable, do we really need the concept of the Elite anymore? I wonder about that too. Cody has more of an entourage than the Elite has at this point, so it's kind of interesting. So Lee and Cody are going to fight for the TV championship, which Lee has the new belt, or the, I guess, finished belt, but they're going to fight for the championship on the 22nd. I think that AEW airing on a Saturday is going to prove that they can get over 1 million viewers without competition, but maybe not. Maybe they drop because it's a non-normal night for them. I don't know. Let's see. So we go to the tag team championship match. Kenny Omega and Hangman Page defeat Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy to retain the titles. I actually liked this a lot more than a lot of critics, but then I've really grown to enjoy Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. While I don't think they're a championship team, I do think them getting a fluke win for the championships at some point is not out of the realm of possibility. Certainly, I wouldn't build my tag team division around them, especially with FTR, that I believe is the best tag team in North America right now. I would even say anywhere but Japan, and I don't watch enough of Japan to say differently, but I tend to, when I look at quality wrestling, I look to Japan first. Anyway, so Stunt tries to get in the ring and attack Omega, and the announcers kind of miss this, and they kind of act like Stunt's a nut. So maybe this plays into eventually a turn or something. Jungle Boy and Omega begin, and Jungle Boy takes the majority of the punishment. He gets hit with a Snapdragon on the floor. Jungle Boy tries a tope. Omega caught him. He caught him awkwardly too, and then hits him with a Snapdragon on the floor. Stunt also gets hit with a Snapdragon as well at one point. Luchasaurus gets the hot tag, nails some kicks, cuts him off with a V-trigger. Page tries a buckshot lariat, but Luchasaurus blocks it. Luchasaurus press slams Stunt onto Omega. Then they go to work on Hangman Page. Omega hits a Tope con Hilo on Jungle Boy. Page hits a power bomb and sticks him for near fall. They hit the champions hit the last call and defeat Jungle Boy for the pin. Then we see Santana and Ortiz cut a promo in the locker room area. They refuse to apologize for trashing Sue's van, and they pour bleach on some of the items that were in the van. Somewhere in here, Private Party admits to the Hardys being their favorite tag team as part of Tag Team Appreciation Night. Young Bucks and FTR are in the ring. Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Ricky Morton, and Robert Gibson are also in the ring. Matt cuts a promo basically saying that the Rock and Roll Express are the greatest team ever, and they inspired the Young Bucks. The Rock and Roll Express sets the standard for the Rockers, the Hardys, and the Bucks themselves. Dax is respectful. He puts over the Rock and Roll Express, Tully and Arn for setting the standard that allows him to provide for his family, which I thought was really cool. Ricky Morton puts over the current day talents. Arn cuts a promo putting over the Bucks, which felt kind of forced. Arn Anderson, I think, should have been a little more old school. He does eventually say that FDR are the best team on the planet. Tully grabs the mic. He actually looks angry, which I think heels today have difficulty doing. When Tully grabs the mic, you really believed for just a split second that something had been said that actually ticked him off. And I don't think today's current stars do enough of that, blurring the lines of emotion. So Tully says championships are what make great teams, and neither one of them have the championships. So let's put a pause on patting each other on the back, which is a great point. The only ones that would have the right to call themselves the best are the champions in the moment. Tully says he has a problem with Arn for a year since he interrupted Shawn Spears' match at All Out, and says he doesn't know what the Nightmare Family on Arn's vest is all about. Maybe they're teasing some alignment. Arn leaves. Ricky and Tully Blanchard get into a shoving match. Spears runs in. Dax fakes a knee injury to avoid the brawl. Finally, FTR and Rock and Roll Express are left alone. FTR attack the Rock and Roll Express, and they hit Gibson with the knee brace, Morton with a spike pile driver. This is phenomenal. The Bucks run back in. They save they save the Rock and Roll Express. Omega runs in late, and Paige comes back with drink in hand. I mean, it was really, really well done. I think it was paced a little quickly, and I hope this leads to the Bucks and FTR, and I hope FTR is the eventual winners. Again, when it comes to tag team wrestling, they are more the team that I think even the casual fan would look at FTR and hate them. I think the casual fan looks at the Bucks and might enjoy them for 6 months, but eventually gets bored. That's just my gut instinct. So Alex Marvez is backstage with Mike Shikoda. Jericho enters and says he saved his job back in 2002. Says that Mike needs to do business the right way. Basically, the referee says he's going to call it down the middle, and that's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The inference here is that Jericho expects him to help him cheat. Butcher and the Blade says their favorite team is the Road Warriors. Okay, who cares? Like, this favorite team thing to me is kind of goofy, but it is what it is. Women's champion Hikaru Shida versus Heather Monroe. This is a debut for Monroe. It's like 3 minutes long. I don't think they needed this. I think they could have put it towards other angles. Monroe hits a few strikes, but gets nailed with a jumping knee into the buckle, and there's an attempted Falcon Arrow by Monroe. She uses a stretch muffler for submission victory. Tony Schiavone interviews Shida. She basically, it comes down to bring it on, I'm ready to fight anybody. Jake Roberts is backstage with Lance Archer. He beats up some enhancement talent while Jake is cutting a promo. Archer rips Jake's shirt off to reveal Everybody Dies painted on Jake's back. This is just goofy. Not a fan. They do a return to talk about the Deadly Draw tournament. They also advance, let us know that the, semifinals are next week on Monday, and the finals for the women's tournament actually take place on Dynamite, which I think is a good thing. Hopefully, the women's tag tournament becomes an annual thing. So they're plugging the next show, which is the 22nd of August, head-to-head against the NXT TakeOver show. Please, and I had completely forgotten about that until right now, so they will not be unopposed on that particular evening. My mistake. Please, I hope this wins out over. All right. While I hit pause to grab my phone. All right. So then we're talking about the show for the 22nd. There's a lot of good here. It is going to be interesting to see what they do up against a major NXT show versus just a television program. Anyhow, they move into talking about the lineup for that show, which includes FTR versus Private Party, Omega and the Bucks versus Reynolds, Silver, and grab the phone a second time. So once again, running through that event for the 22nd, which amounts to FTR versus Private Party, Omega and the Bucks versus Reynolds, Silver, Angels, and then the Deadly Draw final, Darby Allin in action, Lucha Brothers, Butcher and Blade versus Jurassic Express and Natural Nightmares, and Cody versus Brody Lee for the TNT Championship. Heavy on tag matches. I don't necessarily agree that, especially after just having the, I guess, tag appreciation night, that we should be this heavy on tag matches in the show that follows, but that's just a personal preference thing. It's now time for our main event, $7,000 obligation match, Orange Cassidy, Chris Jericho. This has been built really well. I'll be the first one to admit I enjoy Orange Cassidy. He's probably one of my top 5 favorites in AEW right now. I'd say he's easily in my top 10 in pro wrestling right now. And considering that when AEW started, I hated the guy, that's the credit to the storytelling that they've done. And I hated might be strong, but I didn't get the character. I didn't understand what they were doing. I thought, like many purists, that it was an insult to wrestling, and now I look at it completely differently. Anyway, so Cassidy goes after Jericho pretty hard, hits him with a dive off the post to the floor, with his hands in his pockets. I mean, that takes talent. Regardless of what you believe about the hands in the pocket thing, he does things that other people cannot or do not do. Jericho takes the heat for several minutes, hits a back suplex and springboard drop kick, and then we go to commercial. Delayed vertical suplex by Jericho. Cassidy makes a comeback, hits a super kick, and a high cross off the top. He hits some dragon screw leg whips also. Jericho blocks a third one, catches Cassidy coming off, hits the walls of Jericho. Cassidy slid out, uses a small package for near fall. Cassidy uses an ankle lock on the same leg that he injured with the dragon screw leg whips earlier. Good psychology there. Cassidy comes out with a suplex, hits a stunner. Jericho comes back with a codebreaker near fall, properly timed so it adds suspense to the match. Jericho instructed Mike Shikoda to turn around. He grabs the bat that he normally brings. Shikoda does turn around in time to take it away from Jericho. We see Cassidy hit a Michinoku driver and an orange punch. Santana and Ortiz run in. They're brawling with the best friends on the stage. Jake Hager runs in, hits Cassidy with a, I guess, modified slam. And they trade strikes again. Jericho hits a low blow. Cassidy ducks the Judas effect and uses a mousetrap cradle on Jericho for the pin. The finish was a little lackluster. I'm glad that Cassidy won. It was the right storyline development. I think the announcers, A, didn't have enough time to sell it because they're going right off the air. B, I think they undersold the importance of Orange Cassidy winning in this. I mean, he just beat a world champion, or a former world champion. He just beat the former AEW world champion. He beat a multi-time WWE world champion. I think they undersold this, and if I were to put this together for packages, I would literally go back and redo the commentary for the ending of the match. I would get sound bites out of it because it was woefully undersold, in my opinion. Anyway, that is your AEW review for the 12th of August 2020. Would love to hear your views. Comment below, like, subscribe, and do all that fun stuff. And we'll have the AEW, the NXT review up next, and we're also returning to the World Class series as well. So keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.